The NBA has banned a surprisingly large amount of players for a wide variety of reasons, and let's start off with a player you probably haven't heard of, Jack Molinas. Jack Molinas was a star basketball player at Columbia University, but unfortunately, this is where his gambling addiction began. Molinas worked with a mob-backed bookmaker, and he placed bets on college basketball games, including bets on his own team. On top of betting on his games, Molinas would throw games to make sure that his bets won. He also would win games but make a bad pass or shot towards the end of the game to keep under the points spread. His secret remained safe though during this time, and he was selected as the 3rd overall pick in the 1953 NBA draft by the Fort Wayne Pistons. He actually even earned a selection for the All-Star game in his rookie year, but considering the average salary for an NBA player in the 1950s was only $5,000, Molinas wouldn't give up on his gambling. Apparently, Molinas was making up to $50,000 per week, which made his salary chump change.
What are you talking about? This money is our ticket to the good life.
Before he was actually able to play in the All-Star game though, NBA Commissioner Maurice Podoloff caught him betting on games, and he was immediately banned for life by the NBA. It doesn't even stop there though, because years later in 1961, he was the mastermind of a point shaving scandal in college basketball that generated 37 arrests and hurt the chances of Hall of Famers Connie Hawkins and Roger Brown of getting into the NBA. Connie Hawkins eventually was able to make it into the league, however, Roger Brown was also banned for life. In a more recent case, you guys may remember when Mayo was banned from the NBA in 2016. He was the 3rd overall draft pick in the 2008 draft and had his best year in the league as a rookie, averaging 18.5 points per game for the Memphis Grizzlies. Just a few years later though, in 2011, he tested positive for a steroid named DHEA and was suspended by the NBA for 10 games. Mayo blamed an over-the-counter supplement that he didn't know was banned by the NBA for the positive test, but he declined to say which supplement he used. Later on, he blamed an unnamed energy drink that he bought at a gas station for containing the banned substance. This hiccup really didn't affect his career much though, because in the next year with the Mavericks, he broke all of his career highs and was able to shine as the star player while Dirk Nowitzki was out. Once Dirk returned though, he didn't get nearly as much possession time, which prompted him to sign with the Milwaukee Bucks the next season. This is where things started to go downhill though, because he would miss games due to his lack of conditioning, and then he faced various injuries throughout the next couple years. Eventually in 2016, the NBA caught him violating the MBPA anti-drug program once again, and he was banned from the league for another 2 years. Unfortunately, they never released any specifics on this case, but he was probably using some sort of steroid, I would guess. He was able to apply for reinstatement in 2018, but as far as I can tell, he never even applied. Instead, he's been bouncing around from country to country, playing for other professional basketball leagues, and last month, he actually just signed with the Egyptian Basketball Super League. I'm not sure how much he's getting paid for that, but hey, at least he can still do what he loves. Another player suspended for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy was Tyreke Evans. He actually won the Rookie of the Year award in the 2009 to 2010 season, beating out Steph Curry. Obviously, he was proving himself to be a star in the league, and I mean, if you've got the respect of Kobe, you've got to be pretty good. Unfortunately though, his rookie season ended up being his best season, and after facing a serious knee injury, he never was the same. He got caught by the NBA in 2019 for violating the NBA drug policy and was immediately banned for 2 years. When 2021 came around, he was actually approved for reinstatement by the NBA and signed to the Wisconsin Herd of the NBA G League in March of 2022. However, this contract only lasted a week before he was waived. And as far as I can tell, he hasn't signed with any other professional teams since. Moving on, unfortunately, there have been some players that have been banned from the league for participating in other types of substance abuse, which definitely harmed their level of play as opposed to helping it. Chris Washburn was a very highly touted prospect that was drafted 3rd overall by the Golden State Warriors in the 1986 NBA draft. And after having an incredible college career where he averaged 16 points and 6 rebounds per game, his NBA numbers just never lived up to the hype. Due to his crack addiction, he was only able to play in the NBA for 2 seasons before being banned for life. And unfortunately, the drug addiction didn't only affect his NBA career, but also his personal life. He made an effort to get better by making over 14 trips to the rehabilitation center, but the issue was he struggled financially as well. In an interview, he said he had money, but the only person he was paying was his dealer, and it was making him rich instead. He ate out of trash cans and panhandled, and even stole from stores. Believe it or not, though, Washburn said that wasn't even the lowest point of his life. He said his lowest point was when he was in prison and they asked him to play on the prison basketball team. He said, "The guy beside me has on army boots, another guy has flip-flops taped to his feet, and we're playing on concrete. To top it off, we have 6 cheerleaders that are men, and I wasn't even starting. I was coming off the bench." So while that does seem pretty bad, at least Washburn claims that he has given up the addiction for quite some time now, and now his son Julian Washburn is actually playing professional basketball in the British Basketball League, and at one point I think he was even playing for the Memphis Grizzlies. So while I didn't want to make this video too negative, I think this story showed a pretty good turnaround, and I hope everything goes well for the Washburn family. Moving on to a fairly recent scandal you guys may have heard of was the scandal involving Joshua Primo from the San Antonio Spurs. Now, it's not super clear what his future holds for the NBA right now. Like, he hasn't been given an official ban yet, but I wonder if this incident is going to cause any issues with his NBA career. The former Spurs performance psychologist filed a lawsuit against the Spurs after all of her complaints about Primo were just basically ignored. She said that Primo would expose himself to her, if you know what I mean, a total of 9 times during private sessions with him. She says that she went to Spurs management about the incidents, but no action was taken. And then after she spoke out about it, the team elected to not renew her contract at the end of August while taking no action against Primo. Then there was just a random day in October where the Spurs dropped Primo and we had no idea what was going on. Eventually, this whole story did come out, probably as she filed the lawsuit. I'm assuming that's kind of when it got in the news. But the lawsuit has now been dropped now as they settled out of court. So I wonder if any other NBA teams are going to take the opportunity to sign Primo now or not, considering he is a very young player. I believe this was only his 2nd year in the league. So yeah, guys, we'll have to be on the lookout to see whatever comes of his career and if he'll be kind of blackballed by the league as a whole. Another player that feels like he's being blackballed by the league is Dwight Howard. He felt like he was underused during his last season with the Lakers, and that forced him to go all the way to Taiwan and play for their professional league. So while it's kind of unclear whether Dwight just wants more playing time or there's some other issue behind the scenes that we don't know about that's causing him to not be signed, it doesn't really make sense to me why you would go play for the Taiwan league versus just playing off the bench with an NBA team, especially considering his contract with the Taiwan league is only worth $1 million, and I feel like he could have easily got a contract worth that or even probably more in the NBA. So it'll be interesting to see if he ever makes another appearance in the NBA or if there's some secret like shadow ban against him. But let me know, guys, which story was your favorite. Drop a like if you learned something new, and make sure to check out this video if you missed it.